Hi friends, it's Nathan again, and I'm so excited for today because today we're going to talk about something that I know all of you really want to talk about. So far we've talked about scales, we've talked about etudes, we've talked about practicing for an audition, and it's all been really technical, like good intonation, good rhythm, but I didn't learn to play the violin myself so that I could have great technique. I mean, you gotta have great technique to be a great violinist, but I learned to play the violin because I think it's beautiful. And so for the next two videos that we're gonna talk about that I'm gonna make today, we're gonna talk about how to make you sound great using two specific things. The first thing, and what we're gonna talk about right now, vibrato. Now, before we dive into vibrato, which I am so excited to talk to you about, I know every young violinist is like, teach me to vibrate, teach me to vibrate. There are a few things that need to be good to go before we do this. The first is if you want to pursue having good vibrato, you must have good intonation. And not like, I think I have good intonation, like solidly good intonation. If you start working on vibrato with bad intonation, it's just gonna make things worse. That's the first thing. The second thing is that you need to have a really solid, relaxed setup. I shouldn't say solid, that makes it seem like you're holding, but a setup that's relaxed and easy where you're really free with your motion. The third is you really should have a private teacher to make sure that you're on the right track. If you want to start vibrato, and today it's going to be like 101 introductory vibrato stuff, but if you really want to pursue having artistic and beautiful and nuanced vibrato, you need a teacher who really has a good ear, that's very mindful, and very, very aware of your specific situation as a violin player. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and get started on some introductory vibrato 101. Okay, so one last thing before we dive into actual exercises and working on making you being able to vibrate. I'm going to put out a little advert for this book here. This is Simon Fisher's Basics book. This book is amazing, amazing. It's like my #1 resource for exercises. So the way I kind of view learning progression on the violin is that if there's a specific skill you want to do, there are exercises to teach you the skill. This is that book. This has got 300 exercises, and it's like anything you can imagine. I mean, just so much stuff. Tone production, vibrato, left hand setup, intonation, you name it. There are exercises for every kind of skill necessary to be great on the violin in this book. After this, we go into etudes, which we've talked about already, where you apply the skill you've learned, and then the skill that you've learned and that you've mastered in etudes can then be demonstrated in pieces. This book, kind of pricey, 100% worth it. I think of this as like my violin technique Bible. I make all my private students buy it. It's like the textbook for lessons with me. So a lot of the exercises that we're going to do today are in this book with great detail and with great photos. So go ahead if you want. Promise you won't regret it. Basics by Simon Fisher. Hey, so there are lots of different kinds of vibrato, but the first exercise we're going to do is to help you get your fingers loosened up. So remember in our warming up exercise, I had you plucking and warming up. Be sure you've done that before this exercise so you're really free with your instrument. So the base knuckle here, I guess these are the base knuckles, but the last knuckle here is the most important when it comes to vibrato motion. This knuckle here, if it's locked, will not allow you to vibrate. So it's very important that this is very, very, very loose. So what I want you to do is grab your violin, and you can do this on any string. I'm going to do the A string. I'm going to start with third finger. What I want you to do is go ahead and put your third finger down. Try and get my pinky out of the way. And all we're going to do, that's the best way to do this, is here, and we're going to go back, straighten out that finger, and then come forward. So you're going to go from a square position to an extended position and back to a square. Be careful not to lock it out. So you're here, you're going to pull your hand back without changing the shape of your wrist too much to extended, and then back forward. Be sure while you're doing this that you're not squeezing your fingers together. Like my fourth finger is just totally relaxed, hanging out next to my finger. I'm not doing any side squeezes. There's no rush to do this. All we're doing is just back and forth, back and forth. If I do second finger, we're here. Or can you see this the best? I wish my fingers would be out of the way. There we go. Back and forward, back and forward, back and forward, back and forward. Same with first finger, back and forward, back and forward. Now you'll notice it's not exactly in line with the string, it's kind of diagonal. So if I show you this way, you can see I'm not really going exactly back, it's sort of at an angle to the string. That is fine. Second finger, if I get first finger out of the way, kind of looks like that. Right? You see my thumb is very, very light. Third finger. You'll notice as I'm coming back, you can even see that there's space between the string and my finger. I'm not squeezing at all. It's just a very easy extended motion. Fourth finger is the hardest for everybody, myself included. See that? That's the first exercise. Spend some time doing that, okay? Okay, I hope that that was helpful and that you're feeling nice and loose over here. The next exercise is going to open up our arm and our wrist a little bit, and we're going to use our bow for this. Now, the first thing that I'm going to say is that intonation doesn't matter during this. We're not worried about playing actual notes. This is just to get the motion down. So this is a sliding exercise, and what we're going to do, and you can actually warm up without the bow first. You can just take like a third finger or whatever finger you want to start with. We're going to slide up and slide down. Now what I want you to think about is that you're so loose that like the friction of your finger gliding on the string makes your hand, it's not like it's like woo, very, very loose, very, very easy. You can see how my hand sort of responds to the motion. It's not active motion, it's passive. So my hand is, as I push it up, it kind of goes forward, and as I pull it down, it kind of drags. You see that? Very, very loose. And if I turn this way, so you can see my fingertip shapes changes too. Kind of like in our first exercise, you see it drags back and it goes up, drags back and goes up. And what we're going to do is we're going to start now with our bow. What I want you to do is you're going to play it, do big slides, and it's going to get smaller and smaller and smaller until we get to the point where we're kind of staying on one note, and then our finger, without getting tight, is going to stay in one place, but the motion continues. So if I do third finger on the A string, my favorite note to always start with, it's my favorite note on the violin, it sounds great. So we're going to go up, do as many bows as you want. I'm very light. And then it gets to the point where my fingertip stays in one place, but my arm keeps moving. So one more time, we start high. Sounds great. I'm super loose over here. My thumb's not tight. I'm not squeezing fingers together sideways. Do those other fingers as well, like 2. It gets smaller until it's here. And it's going to be a big motion. We're just really loose. And while we're doing this, we're making sure that we're open in our armpit and open in our elbow. Oh, I already did 3. I'll do 1. Remember, intonation doesn't matter here. We're just sliding up and down, staying really loose in our elbow and in our armpit, like in our warm-up exercises. And we're also letting our fingertip respond to the motion because it's nice and loose from our first exercise. Do that for a while, all strings, all fingers. All right, so I hope those first 2 exercises have been good so far. Remember to check in with yourself, make sure there's no tension. If you need to do your warm-up exercise in between to make sure you're nice and relaxed, do it. Nobody's gonna notice, nobody's gonna care. So the next exercise we're going to do is going to be all about having an even vibrato. Now, vibrato, it's important. We can change the width, we can change the speed. Variety is the spice of life, and it's also what makes vibrato so interesting. But it's important that we can have the skill to create an even vibrato. So once we've got the finger, the base knuckle or the first knuckle relaxed and unlocked, we've got the basic motion. We're able to vibrate very slow and very wide on one note. I want you to break out your metronome. We're going to put it at 60. And what we're going to do is we're going to do subdivided vibrato. It's going to sound like this. Let me turn this up so you can for sure hear it. So if I'm thinking 16th notes, I'm thinking 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4. I'm going to vibrate or move my finger on the 4th subdivision. It's going to sound like this. It's very, very relaxed, it's very quick, and I'm not grabbing it all, and I'm playing really in tune. So, once you can do that, we're going to double it. And then finally, we'll vibrate for 4 16th notes, solid for a quarter note, 4 16th notes. It sounds like this. I want you to use the normal 16th note without vibrato to check in, to make sure that you're totally, totally relaxed, super, super easy, calm with the body. So, easy. So I'm really, really relaxed during that quarter note. Go ahead and explore this. All fingers, all strings. All right, so with that, we basically have a basic vibrato motion going. It might be wide, it might be narrow, it might be based in the wrist or the fingers or the arm, depending on your body, but hopefully if you were relaxed and you were nice and easy in your knuckle, you're making good vibrato that really suits you and your body and your type of playing. Now, the last exercise that I want to do is kind of, well, it's two, I guess, but it's specifically tailored to making sure that you have continuous vibrato. Now, that means that your vibrato continues between notes. This is kind of advanced vibrato stuff, but I like to get my students started on it right away. What you can do, and you can do this with the metronome or without, but pick a finger, like always. We're going to start third finger on the A string. And what I want you to do is, while slowly vibrating, we're going to lift and drop your other fingers on other strings. So first finger on the D string, then G string, and then E string. And what you'll see is that what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to keep the motion going even while I lift and drop my fingers. So if I do second finger, then we do all other fingers. So 3, now we're going to lift and drop 2. There's on the D string, there's on the G string, and there's on the E string. Fourth finger, D string, G string. Oh, it's hard to keep it moving. E string. It's very, very tricky. But I like to do that to make sure that you're relaxed and that the vibrato can continue. The next exercise is where you practice lifting and dropping fingers while keeping the motion going in your hand. So for example, first finger, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. That exercise, all fingers, all strings, lifting and dropping other fingers while continuing to vibrate. If someone was listening in the other room, they would just think that you're playing one note for a really long time, which should sound totally even. This next exercise, we're going to start with first finger. Very slowly, you drop 2 and then lift it back up without stopping the vibrato. It's very hard. And then high 2. Then 3. And high 3. Oh, I stopped. Then 4. Don't stop. I like doing this because it really, really helps to make sure that the vibrato is loose and that the motion is independent from the fingers lifting and dropping. The vibrating motion can happen from your wrist and from your arm and should not stop just because you're lifting and dropping your fingers. So that's the final exercise. If you're able to do that on all strings, all fingers, you are well on your way to having really beautiful vibrato. If you want to know more, don't be afraid to reach out. I've got dozens of exercises on changing vibrato widths, changing vibrato speeds, and even more exercises on how to really try and pinpoint arm versus wrist versus finger. But I hope that this Vibrato 101 has been very, very helpful and that you're on your way to beautiful, beautiful sound. Stick around. The next video is on tone, my favorite topic on the violin. Hope this was helpful, and as always, stay safe, stay healthy, and see you soon.